biggest crypto bull run ever. This has been said a lot this cycle, and a lot of people don't think it's going to happen. Nobody seems to be happy about it. Perhaps they think it's taking longer than usual, which isn't true. The crypto bull run is about to start. The alt season is about to really hit this market hard. Quite a few people thought it would progress faster. A lot of people thought that this cycle would be different because of how the crypto world was changing in general. In past cycles, we have also seen that mistake happen many times. In 2020 and 2021, there was a lot of talk about how this time would be different, how we were entering a super cycle, and how institutional FOMO would be hitting hard. Also, everyone knows what happened in 2021. However, there are some differences between this case and the last one. However, they are all triggers for the same blockchain cycle. Not much has changed. In general, rules are still expected to be in place by the end of 2025 or early 2026. When it comes to utility-based projects, I think that rules will be negative at first before they start to pay off. I don't think the cycles are that different, but welcome to the channel, everyone. If you're new to the channel, you will become a subscriber by the end of this movie. Let's jump right in. Let's move on quickly. When we look at the Crypto Bubbles websites, we can see that there is nice green all over for the hourly, daily, weekly, and even yearly time frames. Even when it comes to trades, they're all in the black by more than 10%, with many of them almost at 30% for the month, as well as most of the crypto market being up. From the top 100, it's over 18.5%, the top 200, 16.7%, and the top 300, 18.7%. Also, as you go down this list, you can see that the top 400 is up over 57%, which we love to see, but there is nice green everywhere. Now, what I'm really interested in is how Bitcoin is doing, since Bitcoin is going up a lot right now. We're actually going over $97,000. We're only up 2.5% on the 24-hour spend, but we're up 4% on the 7-day spend. Bitcoin has had a great month over the last 30 days. It's also great to see that the total market value of crypto has gone back up by $3 trillion, 0 cents after this first move. Some old coins have made good gains in the last 24 hours. You may not be happy with XRP's gains, but all of them are good. For some great projects I've already talked about on the channel, that's great to see. XRP isn't doing much right now, though I'll talk about that in a moment. But if we look at the CMC 100, we can see that it is beginning to break up after making some lower lows. From now on, we're also making bigger highs and lower lows. When I think about September, this is when Bitcoin first started to do this, before its much bigger growth in November. Into December, which, if we have something similar now, would mean that Bitcoin is worth over $150, 0 cents, and altcoins should be doing very well during that time. This is because I think that Bitcoin's dominance is also about to peak, which is something we will talk about next. But yeah, the market looks pretty good all around. Back to 1955, fear and greed. Not too bad, or bad. From those very scary levels, there was a big swing to the upside. Based on the old season measure, the market is still very much driven by Bitcoin, which I'll also talk about in this video. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The prices are moving up, which is a good sign. We did make more than $95,000, 0 cents, which was my original Bitcoin goal, which I had talked about in fills before. That's the weekly close on Bitcoin that we need to see above $95, 0 cents. I'll show you what the weekly chart looks like, but this is now Bitcoin. This is a great move in the price. Early today, around noon, we did reach a nice little high of about 97.40K. And this is how the lamps look as a whole, if you really want to see the lamps. But Bitcoin has had a great month, going up more than 14.5%. And for something with the same market size and price as Bitcoin, in fact, seeing a 15% change in the last 30 days is pretty good. And of course, we're still ahead on the yearly, but you could also see why 95K was such a big number when you looked at the whole picture. Anywhere between 95K and 96K was huge. Is that right? It was mostly shifting support. To turn them back into support would be a huge move, just like changing the support levels around 95K. We shouldn't get ahead of ourselves though. Now, tell me why Bitcoin is moving so well right now. Like, why did everything happen so quickly? I think I told you guys on the 17th that the market was getting tight. We are waiting for a move that is a lot bigger. The reason I thought that would happen was because of the gold, right? So gold is starting to fall in value. And I, along with many others, think this is the top for now. I think we'll have to chop it up a bit until we get back above these levels, which could take a while. As it stands, I think we are right around the time of 2020 for gold. That's what I mean. If we go all the way back to 2020, you can see that there was a big rise in August 2020, but then things turned sideways. That's why I pulled this August Sparks graph. I think this is how we will most likely trade gold in the future, with a nice chop to the lower. This is basically a long-term chop consolidation, if you want to call it that, until we start to break back out and repeat those highs that we just hit. In the meantime, gold should kind of cool off a bit while everyone switches from gold to Bitcoin. I believe that's exactly what's happening right now, since if you look at this chart, the 21st is when we first top out on gold. You should know that Bitcoin started to rise on the 20th and was really taking off by the 21st. We can see from this that there was a change from gold to Bitcoin. Bitcoin was still the talk of the town and gold wasn't being talked about as much. Gold was going through the roof because it was everywhere. Gold was getting a lot of attention because everyone was talking about how well it was doing. Now the attention is back on Bitcoin. If you hold both Bitcoin and altcoins, this is good news. What's good for Bitcoin is good for altcoins. You might ask, then why isn't XRP pumping today? Why is it that XRP is only up 0.91% daily and 2.37% weekly? That's a good question. The answer is that Bitcoin is the leader. However, even though this is going up quickly, the biggest changes on old coins are still a while away. I said the same thing in the dispute as well. A bunch of people ask me, Nick, when do you think old coins will start to go up in value? You should know that a lot of old coins are still up over 100%. XRP has already had a great year, even though it says 336% and 337%, it's really a much bigger push. In fact, XRP has gone up more than 700% or almost 800% in a year. You might think, oh, that means XRP is over, it's full. You could say it's over. Not at all. The big moves in the cycle for old coins don't happen until this picture starts to fall apart. Not this time. If we think about how long it really takes for old coins to disappear, this takes about 147 days. XRP in the year 2021. Okay, I can also show you this on the candlestick bodies. It reached its highest point near the end of March. XRP had reached its highest point by April. Okay, so that first rise, and by the way, it's not just XRP, also it's Dogecoin. To give you an example, I could use Doge to show you that most old coins do top out earlier rather than later. The top of this coin was at the end of April, which is around March. A lot of old coins reached their highest point in April. This is because Bitcoin began to, have that nice little jump up. A lot of people think that Bitcoin dominance peaked or debuted around the same time that a lot of old coins did. This is because Bitcoin dominance began to form a floor, if you will, of support around that time. It did have a nice little spike here and there and it was cut up a bit, but this is when most old coins did hit their high point. Some did, in fact, make it into October and November during that time. That's why I say we don't have that much time left until old coins go crazy and finally reach